Okay, can we?
No.
Rolling. Okay, yay.
Hey, how's it?
How's
Hi,
it?
Sham. How
We're
are
finally
you?
here, right? We're launching this
Absolutely.
thing.
Very exciting.
I'm so excited to be talking about our wellness program today. Probably the first thing to say is for you to do an introduction. I guess everyone knows who I am. So,
Sure. Okay, great. My name is Lara van der Post. I'm a wellness strategist. So I've pretty much can say I've been in wellness my whole life. Developed various programs. I've worked with really amazing clients as in corporates from the retail sector, the banking sector, hospitality sector. I have a background in psychology and in coaching, personal training, fitness, nutrition, numerous other things. But more importantly, I'm passionate about people, growth, development, and really just living the best lives possible. Last little bit of my journey so far, or the last 6 years or so, I've done a lot in wellness tourism. So ecotherapy, working with ecological intelligence, which is really connecting into nature and the healing effects of nature, the power of nature, and working with incredible visionaries who are making big changes in terms of community upliftment, anti-poaching, all sorts of things, using a really interesting business model around creating change that's being funded by tourists. So very exciting visionaries, and I'm excited that you're a visionary yourself, and Daytonomy has a very novel and kind of visionary approach to life and its people and its vision. So I'm very excited to be co-creating an incredible wellness program with you.
and I mean, we started talking about this years ago, and so we've kind of been creating it along the way. And I think for me, what sparked the interest was when you spoke about wellness strategy. I was like, whoa, I've never heard of that term before, like organizations taking wellness seriously, and then the strategic elements of it. Because what I thought was fascinating was that you spoke about wellness in terms of all the different layers and as an ecosystem. So starting with the individual, starting with the person, but then how does the environment, the organization, the way of interacting, how does it all align? Is it a healthy symbiosis, or is it a kind of a toxic environment that's not the best for the people, and so not for the organization and not for all of the other stakeholders that the organization touches. So it just seemed so holistic and exciting. And then we spent years trying to say, okay, so let's think about doing something, one of these days. And then I think two things happened. The first thing was we came up with our vision for 2030, which is to positively impact 1 billion people by 2030. And then COVID happened. And I think those two things made us sit up and say, we need this program now. And we need to design a unique wellness program that is conscious, that is aligned to our values, who we are, where we're going, but also starts, when we say who we are, it starts with the person. Because I mean, if you want to change 1 billion people, you need to start with yourself, right? And that's what we need to do. And we always say that the outer world is a reflection of your inner world. So wellness starts within, right? And I think that's how we got started.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think strategy is all about left brain, goals, visions, plans, where we're going, bringing it into the wellness environment. We're dealing with human beings, and you've got to bring intuition and more organic flow and understanding where each person is. And so developing a strategy is not just strategic left brain stuff. It's actually connecting with heart as well, and creating something that supports people and helps them on their journey is very important. And I think the old definition of wellness is either when you're sick you do something about it, and this is really a progressive, preventative, expansive tool that we want to create excitement and change in people. And when people are living in survival, which many people have been living with a lot of changes and just generally life, it's hard to really thrive. So how do we regulate, how do we manage that, and how do we work through that? And that's a big part of our program, which is quite exciting.
Yeah. And I think, what I want to touch on is we talk about wellness, but actually what we're talking about is well-being.
Yeah.
And we live in a world of well-doing. But well-being for me became, something to really place attention on, because, during the first parts of COVID and all the way through, we try to maintain connection. Connection is everything to us as a company, as you know. It's one of our core philosophies, and through that connection, we really noticed that people were battling with mental health issues, and I think these were pre-existing conditions, and I think the hardship that we've been through has brought those pre-existing conditions to the fore. And the worst thing that could happen is that everything goes back to normal and we ignore those signs.
Yeah.
Because if there are things that are hurting you, it's actually a sign to go there and work on it. And I think for the first time, the isolation made people look inward and address some of these things. But people can't do it alone, right? So I think this program is designed to help people make that inner journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And to really share resources and tools and a variety of different things to help people and support people to grow. And also, it's not just autonomy. It's obviously a worldwide thing, mental health and the things that people have been battling with, even physical health and, there's spiritual health, emotional health, financial health. Perhaps it's time to think differently and to start, the structures and the norms that have so-called been in place. Perhaps some of them aren't working. And if we can shift those and look at things a little bit differently, that's how we grow, that's how we expand, that's how game changers work, whether it's our personal life or, personal life, community life, corporate life. Stealing from Michael Jackson, it starts with the man in the mirror. And it sounds cliche, but, that's where we focus and then we work outwards.
I think it is completely a game changer. People kind of like there's like their work life and their home life. And even in their home life, there isn't like a personal life or a space for a personal life, and it all starts there. So I think what's innovative about the program is to say we're not just motivated by what we do for the company and for the shareholders. We're motivated by how we positively impact in the world. But by the way, or as they say, charity starts at home. What about our people? What we need to start there. And what's game changing is that it recognizes the connected nature of things, the oneness of all things, and says, okay, so let's tap into that. What does the human being want for for their growth, for their upliftment? What does the soul want to live our fullest, best life, right? So maybe let's just dive in a little bit into the program and how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we said, we're dealing with individuals and nobody's forced to, we don't have a set structure and it has to work that way. We look at all the different areas and the different dimensions, but we do generally start with a quantum resonance scan. So this particular scan has 20 years of clinical research behind it. And anything that we suggest or that we find, the findings from that, then come through the Mayo Clinic, which is a very well-known researched scientific clinic in terms of the feedback that we give. But the idea of the scan is it's equivalent to full bloods in an MRI scan. So we get a lot of information in terms of physical well-being. There are other levels to that we can see physical things manifest of what's going on, like stress and adrenal fatigue. Certain things are linked, but we look very much start at the physical aspect. And where do people, where can we support their body in terms of if they're battling with depression, it could be zinc and selenium and various other things that there's a shortage of. So we start at that level, because if you can get to the basis, if you think of it as a pyramid, you can get the basis strong and the structure right, it's sustainable. So we're not looking for a quick have a test, here we go, here's your results, you get all depressed with your results, you don't know what to do, and you go back to whatever you were doing before. So how do we change, how do we create long-term change?
And that's why it's a program, right?
That's why it's a program.
That's why it starts with awareness of what's going on in your body, but it's a guided program, highly personalized, obviously, and totally confidential.
Completely confidential. So that's what's nice as an outsider coming into an organization. Everything is confidential with me and the team, and we basically do the scan, we give the feedback in terms of, whatever level people want to tap into. So if it's fitness, if it's exercise, if it's their eating plan, that's the level that we start at.
Around the physical. But what I really liked about it, obviously, we're talking about wellness, and there'll be a lot of, left brain, techie people thinking like, oh, this sounds like hippie stuff. Whereas being a data company, being data centric, I mean, the first thing is a quantum resonance scan that looks at your organs, using like you say, like world-class technology, pioneering technology endorsed by the Mayo Clinic, to say, okay, what's really happening in your body at a cellular level, at an organ level, and starting there. And I think part of that journey is really like awareness, like you say, right? But then after the awareness, after the initial scan, what happens next?
So yeah, you basically get the feedback. You start on that program of the physical elements, and then we look at NLP coaching. So everyone knows Tony Robbins, NLP coach. It's very much, we start looking at what are your beliefs, what are any self-limiting beliefs you might have, what are the things that are holding you back, what are your dreams, what are your goals, what are your challenges. So there's a variety of different tools that we use to assess and to see where you may be at, and then how we can support and how we can streamline that into growth, awareness. Sometimes, life is a bit of a journey, so we go through various things. It's supporting people wherever they're at, and helping them through that, because that's life. We all do go through things.
I just wanted to go back to that word NLP, and so my understanding, it's neuro-linguistic programming, and maybe let's just unpack that a little bit, because my understanding from you was we're talking about once you become aware, most of us are just following, a way of working that, like neural pathways that are like deeply embedded, and that's what's so hard to change behavior. So you spoke about in the program the concept of neuroplasticity. I still can't say it properly. and then the brain's ability to change. Like we're not just the way we were born or the genes that we inherited, but that's just a phenomenon. Like how does NLP work in terms of using that phenomenon of our ability to change our brain?
Well, I think it's very exciting, because once you start exploring it, and I think if we can be open-minded and teachable to new ways, we can see that there's a lot of, talking about the science and the proof, there's a lot of proof in change and physiological, emotional change and the impact. So we look at neuroplasticity, which is changes in the neural pathways of the way you do things. So most people think that it takes 21 days to change a habit, but to actually rewire and create change takes at least 90 to 144 days. So a part of the program is actually kind of in a gentle way, changing things in your life, going through a process. We all know what we want to do and that we should be doing it, but it's why aren't we doing it? What's stopping us? What's blocking us? And it's a kind of a gentle way of change.
Yeah.
And making it sustainable and long term.
Yeah. And it's unique per person, and so everyone will be supported in a way that works for them.
Exactly.
I think the other thing I just wanted to touch on as we kind of wrap up is that a key part of the program is acknowledging the human and starting with the nature aspect, but there's also the nurture aspect, and so a big part of the program is going to be in an anonymized fashion to find out what's going on in the organization and where we as an organization need to make changes, whether it's our client engagements or any aspect of the way we engage with our environment, so that we can get better. And that's where the strategy comes in. The strategy is you've got a goal for 2030, and the strategy is how do you align the way you're working from a human aspect to an organizational aspect, so that you have a higher chance of achieving those goals. But also, it's not just about the destination; it's about the journey.
Exactly.
And this journey is an intensely personal journey for our people, for people who work at Autonomy to live their best lives. And if they're living their best life, and together we're working together on a higher goal, it's going to be magic, right?
Exactly. And I think something quite relevant is that the more comfortable we can get with the unknown, the more likely we are to succeed. So there's always the unknown in life, and it's actually a lot of this program. What's amazing about what you're doing as Autonomy is providing people with tools, internal tools, and how to navigate, so that we're not thrown with everything that's happening in the world or anything that's happening outside of us, that we know how to regulate ourselves, so that we know how to regulate on a bigger level and have a bigger impact regardless of what's going on. That's the vision, and that's how we do it. So
that sounds super empowering, and I'm so excited to be working on the program with you.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Can't wait to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to it. Thank you.
Cool.